Hello everyone, it's me, Musto0063, back again with Mega Man Let's Play Perfect Runs. So without further ado, let's dive into Wily Tower. Unlocked on the Mega Drive Wily Wars game when you beat Mega Man's 1, 2 and 3. Ah, the ears! Enough Wily, I concede, you win! Ah! You metallic moron. I'm not finished with you yet. I still have a few hundred tricks up my sleeve. These 3 robots were specially designed to smash you like a tin can. Try not to go to pieces, Mega Man. Apologies for my absolutely appalling Dr. Wily voice. So here, as Wily said, are 3 new Robot Masters standing in our way. Collectively they're known as the Genesis Unit. Now I want to talk a little bit about the backstory to the game and also a few other things, and I'm going to do that during the first Robot Master stage I'm going to be tackling, and that is Hyperstorm H, who is freaking ginormous. But don't worry, spoiler alert, I have perfect runned him, so I'll talk more about his stage itself during the perfect run. But here's the first thing I need to explain. You don't obtain weapons defeating any of the 3 Robot Masters, so rather than you have to go through the game Buster only, you're permitted to take along 8 weapon abilities from the Robot Masters of Mega Man's 1 to 3 and 3 utility items, and you have a completely free choice. So you'll see, or I'll explain, why I picked the weapons I picked during this playthrough, but just to state for the record, I chose the abilities from Bomb, Elec, Fire and Ice from Mega Man 1, yes, 4 out of the 6 on offer, what can I say, they're awesome, Crash and Metal from Mega Man 2, and Hardened Spark from Mega Man 3. On the utility item side, I chose the 3 rush ones, Coil, Jet and Marine, because they give you the most variety. But in all honesty, you could pick any of the 7. The only one I'd really recommend is Rush Jet because of how broken it is, but I don't think you'll be over-relying on any utility item during the game. So, as promised, backstory. The entire concept of the Wily Wars game, for those of you who are unaware, is that Dr. Wily, reeling from his 3rd defeat, i.e. Mega Man 3, comes to the apparent realisation that he isn't going to be able to take over the world with Mega Man around. So he decides to travel back to the past, reliving Mega Man's 1 to 3 I guess, to destroy Mega Man. Then with Mega Man destroyed in the past, there will be no one around capable of preventing him from taking over the world in the present. Now the giant flaw in that plan as far as I can see is that Mega Man already beat Wily 3 times. So why would he think going back to the past and changing absolutely nothing would result in any other outcome than getting an arse whooping 3 times over again? He's even lost the element of surprise, assuming Mega Man remembers the 3 previous showdowns. Now okay, I'll concede you did change a few things, like Fireman's boss pattern and taking away Quickman's speed, although bulking up his health bar, but did you really think that would cut the mustard, Wily? Unsurprisingly, Mega Man defeats Wily 3 times over again, and presumably somehow that returns into the present. Anyways, back in the present, Wily holds himself up in the oh so creatively named Wily Tower, and Mega Man has to take out Wily one last time. That's the backstory. With regard to the 3 Robot Masters, they are actually based off of characters from Journey to the West, a 16th century Chinese novel, but I won't go into any more details surrounding the novel itself. If you're interested, go look it up. I'm sure whatever source you look at will be much more informed on the subject than I am. Now one other thing I definitely wanted to say something about is the controls and the smoothness, responsiveness of how these look. You might think that Mega Man appears moving a little slower, and I'd say you're right. That isn't down to the quality of my recording though, that's how the game feels. Not just this one, but Mega Man's 1 to 3 within the Mega Drive collection as well. Oh damn you, you crazy cows, and your inability to shoot so that hitboxes work consistently. I was on course for an accidental perfect run as well. But briefly back to the controls, yeah. It always just feels slightly off me whenever I play this game. As if the speed or general flow just isn't quite right, or certainly how I'm accustomed to the NES version behaving. And I'm always bamboozled by just how far Mega Man seems to be able to jump now. I'll illustrate this point in the next video. But now here's where I show off one of the reasons why I picked the hard knuckle as a weapon choice. As it did in Mega Man 3, it can break these green coloured blockades. It certainly isn't a requirement to pick the weapon, but there are certain secret areas you can get to, and I think some shortcuts available to you in the fortress stages if you pick it. Here I decided I couldn't actually even be bothered to collect that one up there, but I showed off the secret area nonetheless. And I guess now is as good a time as any to say that I picked the Crash Bomb weapon for the exact same reason. it can break through the other type of destroyable wall, as it previously did in Mega Man 2. And I wanted to show off other quote-unquote secret areas as well. Hard Knuckle actually has another use of a Crash Bomb, but I'll demonstrate this later. That brings me nicely to the end of almost all the extra material I initially wanted to talk about, and nicely to our first Robot Master, Hyperstorm H. Now, I did say he's ginormous, and so much so that he actually has 2 health bars. Don't be put off by that though, he's still pretty easy to beat. Now, as there is no boss rush in the Fortress stage, I only get one opportunity during the course of a normal playthrough to fight him. As I've already stated that there will be a perfect run attempt to show off using the Mega Buster, now is the only time I get to demonstrate weapon weaknesses, etc. So as you've already been watching, Hyperstorm H is weak to Hyper Bomb. And although he happens to be moving now, as you can see, or he will be, there he goes. The fact that Hyperstorm for much of the fight stands in one position makes Bomb's weapon much more handy than it otherwise would have been if he was constantly moving around or jumping all over the place. Because it does take a bit of time for the bomb to explode. Good one, yay, just stand there and let the mech drop on your head. Must have, God knows what I was doing there. Yeah. Anyway, if you don't fancy using Hyper Bomb, Firestorm, Fireman's weapon, is also a good choice. It does half the damage of Bomb's weapon, but of course you can just shoot at the boss fairly quickly and not have to worry about any delay. I should probably also point out that a fully charged atomic fire shot, Heatman's weapon, does the same amount of damage as Hyper Bomb, but it takes so long to charge and you only get to fire 2 before the weapon meter is drained, and I personally wouldn't recommend that option. If you're not going Buster only, either Hyper Bomb or Firestorm are excellent choices. And here's the game's save menu, as opposed to having to write down all those pesky passwords, and it's certainly a welcome feature. Okay, I've said twice now that I've managed a perfect run, so how's about we just get on with it? What's this? Colour? Yes, possibly because it's a European game, it actually recorded onto VHS in colour, not black and white. It is a perfect run, I didn't upload something else by accident. And I also showed off there at the beginning that you don't actually have to select the full complement of weapons and your utility items to play. You do have to select at least one though, as it won't let you set off having selected nothing. Anyway, time to finally talk about the stage. Hammer Joes from Mega Man 3 for the first enemy we encounter, and what with the low ceilings, I'd recommend sliding under their hammers when they chuck them at you. Bladers from Mega Man 1, I'd recommend taking out the lowest of the 3, then sliding underneath the other 2 and attacking them from the other side when you can use the opening closing Mega Man 3 platforms from Shadow Stage to gain the requisite height. It can be a bit tricky oddly enough to jump from the highest platform to the ladder. You saw me have some fun with that during the Let's Play version, and that again is more of a control responsiveness thing in my opinion, rather than the jump itself being all that awkward. The floor walking enemies from Mega Man 3, appearing in Magnet and Shadow Stages, probably over the 2, are back, and they're just as non-threatening as they've always been. They don't move fast enough to cause a problem. Shoot away at them and you should have no trouble taking them out before they get anywhere near you. There's a mildly more difficult set of floor walkers to deal with, but only mildly. Time your drop down to the lower area well and you'll still have ample time to deal with them. Hammer Joes on narrow platforms, so this is just a patience thing. Don't get too greedy and jump too high or too often when your opportunity to hit them comes along, or you're liable to take a hammer straight to the face. Protruding giant needles from who else? Needle Stage. As long as you know they're there, you can get by easily enough. The only danger would be not knowing or forgetting about them and walking straight into the first of the 3. Now you can trick these enemies by luring them to the left, then making your way upwards to the right out of their way, which I sort of did there, but took too long about it, wasn't quite sure when another one was going to spawn onto the screen, so I decided to wait to destroy the next one, to drop out of the left-hand chute before proceeding. And here again, not rushing but waiting to destroy any that are likely to fall directly on top of me seems like a sensible strategy. And thanks for the 1-up. I told you the so-called 1-up curse was nonsense. Bicky's back, that giant enemy from Mega Man 3 I've ridiculed on several occasions, and, well, you're still as useless as ever. Sorry Bicky, you don't have a candle to Mega Man 1's big eye or Mega Man 2's sniper armour. Here's Hairy Harry from Needle Stage, and personally I prefer to jump past him rather than worry about trying to kill him. It can be a little tight, but with the right timing and knowing where he's going to stop rolling, make him not too great a threat. First of those 2 crazy cannons is probably the most troublesome enemy of the stage. You saw there that I timed the jump over his first pellet shot rather than try to run underneath it. I maintain that the run under technique should work, but it's very hit and miss for some reason. If you can pull off a dodge like I just did, you'll make life much easier for yourself. Now those junk golems, get up close to them and shoot fast. That'll mean neither has enough time to hurl a junk block at you. I panicked on one run through and failed to take the first one out sufficiently quickly, and it jumps the result. Not recommended. The last section is awfully reminiscent of Shadow Stage, just with spikes to jump over rather than bottomless pits. And it's actually even easier because you don't have to worry about the hopping enemy at the end. You shouldn't have a problem with this section. Now that once again brings us nicely to Hyperstorm H. Yeah, have all the health bars you want, still won't help you. His attack pattern works on a cycle, and he will always do the same moves in the exact same order. Firstly, he'll try to suck you in. As you can see, plain old walking is good enough to escape the suction. But if you ever find yourself dangerously close to him, you can always slide away to give yourself that little extra breathing room. Secondly, he'll try to blow you into the spikes adorning the walls. This time, he'll also fire one pellet shot at you. The direction it moves in is based upon where you were positioned on screen at the time it's fired, or just about to fire the pellet. Essentially, if you stay on the ground and jump over the pellet shot when it's heading towards you, you should dodge it every time. Pausing here to point out that I really should have got hit there. I was standing on his hoof, but it didn't register for some reason. Isn't it nice when the hitbox detection works for you? The spikes on the walls, by the way, are not insta-kills, so if you do get blown into them, that's not the end of the fight. But to be truthful, you shouldn't really ever find yourself anywhere near them. Much like me here. Not. Jeez. Anyway, his third and final attack is to jump from one side of the screen to the other, Mets dropping down from the ceiling when he lands, provided there are no Mets already on the ground. If there are, no extra Mets will drop, so that's a tactic you could potentially exploit if you wanted to. Leave one Met trolling around on the floor, and you won't have to worry about falling debris. But in summation, none of his moves are especially threatening, and because his attack pattern is cyclical, you always know what he's going to do next. That'll do, pig. It's nice to be back in the swing of doing these Mega Man Perfect Run videos again. And it's equally nice to start things up again with a straightforward stage. It seems ages ago now, but the last Robot Master to go down would have been Shadow Man. The contrast between the two could not be much greater. 15 minutes is all it took to get the successful Perfect Run on Hyperstorm H, and frankly, that sounds like a little bit too much time. 5 outtakes on the stage, and none on the Robot Master. The 2 outtakes I suffered on those enemies that crawl along the floors, walls, that we saw in Revisited Gemini Man stage just felt clumsy more than anything else, or the area being especially tricky. Ditto the 1 outtake I described on the Junk Golem, where I was way too slow in taking it out, that I allowed it to hurl a junk block at me. In my Let's Play I actually was sufficiently slow, but it threw a block at me, but at least there I had the wherewithal to get out of the way. The remaining 2 outtakes on the Crazy Cannon I do feel were rather cheap. The hitbox for their pellet shots seems to be different every time you play. Not as frustrating as the one I whinged about in Flashman stage, because ultimately you do have more room to manoeuvre on this stage, but somewhat irritating nonetheless. Hyperstorm H has a very simple pattern, and once you get the time of when he shoots pellet shots at you, you can easily get yourself in a rhythm to dodge those. The only partially tricky thing is dodging the Mets which fall down from the ceiling, as I imagine you could get a little screwed over depending on where they decide to fall. But personally, I've never found them to be unfair. You just have to remember to move and not just sit there like an idiot and let one drop on your head, as I did in my Let's Play. Only 15 minutes worth of effort and 5 outtakes make Musto a happy boy. I generally have fun when I'm playing this game anyway, but the fact that I didn't get stuck here for any great length of time only widened my smile. Hyperstorm H becomes the 4th member, along with Heat, Top and Magnet, of the 1 out of 10 club. A pretty easy stage, other than some described Crazy Cannon cheapness, and a simple Robot Master, even taking into account his 2 health bars, definitely justify the low rating. So we're already a third of the way through this Perfect Run series, and in no time at all. But rest assured, the other 2 stages won't be anything like as straightforward as this one. Which one will I be going after next? You'll have to tune in next time to find out. Cheerio.